Scott, in your opinion, the last 7 years, what is your hardest day or
Oh.
hardest week?
Oh, obviously, it's. I always tell people, if money can fix a problem, it's not a very big problem. Because I went through those times where, like, oh my God, how are we literally gonna pay the Comcast bill to keep the internet up? That's a problem.
That's right.
That's a problem, And really, grace of God, right about the time we'd run out of money, we'd sell a franchise. And the negative part to that is you sell a franchise to somebody you probably don't want to. And now you're married to them for 10 years. Luckily today, we don't award a franchise to anybody that we don't want to be in business with because we don't have to sell it. But it was just, sometimes I would think, am I not working as hard when I get a few bucks in the bank because we'd be okay and then we'd run out and then I'd sell a franchise. But I think it was just divine intervention. I really believe that, how can God be against us? All we're trying to do is help the world build more relationships and help more people.
That's true.
And so I've always felt like, you know what, the good Lord had our back, and He did. And there are many, many nights, you laid there in bed till 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning praying, and the next day something miraculous would happen. And I was like, obviously I know where this came from. It wasn't me.
I'll tell you, this is excellent because this is one of my questions. I had this great conversation with Michelle too. So obviously you are a huge believer in God. You're a Christian, Jesus. So where does that play? I know you just told part.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I had a business years ago that was wildly successful. I mean, we were in about 35 states and we were doing about $8.5 million. We were just printing money. I was hardly ever working. I was single. Wow. And I was living the good life. And I kept thinking, we need to start a foundation. We need to give something back. Well, God decided to get some guys a little more smarts than me, and they created a little company called Google. And I mean, they blew us out of the water. Overnight, nobody's buying Yellow Page ads, and we were working with Better Business Bureau and Chamber of Commerce and stuff. So we took a beating, and I always regretted not starting that foundation. So when we started Network in Action, I remember the second or third night, I told my wife, we're going to make sure that every Network in Action group does something charitable every week. And I was on a podcast earlier today, and the lady was asking me, so where do you see Network in Action in 5 years? And I knew she thought I was going to say global domination and a bunch of money. And I said, you know what? I hope I live long enough to where every hour something's going on in the world motivated by our Network in Action members. And right now today, we're at about every 9 days. So we're getting there.
That's awesome. Scott, that is
awesome. But, hopefully I'll live long enough to, because the things that, you've participated in, our members participate in helping some little, community nonprofit. And what does that do? It creates more bonding between the members.
Absolutely.
And then what do? They retain their membership, so we make more money. It's sort of embarrassing. But, we're committed to that, and that's what I get the most joy out of, those stories each year from our different franchise owners.
All right. And how about your best day ever?
Oh, best day ever. Oh, wow. God, I have a bunch of them. My mom's 92. She keeps telling me, you need to slow down. You need to quit working. I don't ever go to work. I wear a lot of golf shirts. I don't play a lot of golf, but I never feel like I'm working. That's there's
awesome.
just, there's no stress in this business. There's no stress in this company. We have 114 franchises, and I'll have days where I get 5 emails and 3 phone calls, literally today, because it's such a simple concept. One of my best days was we had a franchise owner north of Houston who had a guy in their group whose son had a tumor too big to operate, and the doctors had told this family they need to go home for about 6 months. And they had 2 or 3 other kids. It was really tragic, beautiful family. And these Network in Action groups decided they would get together and raise money for this family, for their function that year, nonprofit function.
Oh, wow.
And they raised enough money to send a nanny into that home to help with the mother and the kids for like 5 months.
See that?
And that day when she called me and told me that was going on, I was like, oof.
Yeah, because that's definitely something
that's what it's all about. Yeah. We can all make money if you're passionate. The money will follow, but you can't all change the world. And, I don't got much time left. I'm 65 tomorrow, man.
No, you have at least 40 years. You have at least 40 years left.
I'll drink to that.
At your event, to me, one of your best days was your last event at the hotel, Hilton, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because that was your biggest, latest event.
Yeah.
I'm interviewing some of the guys. There was one guy who told a story, and he's one of your biggest guys. I think he's maybe the guy in Austin.
Yeah.
And he was like, our first event, I think he had 3 people. See, the average person would be like, I did all this marketing, made all these phone calls, 3 people showed up, I'm done. I'm going to go back and do something else.
Yeah.
So, Scott, again, I have to ask one more time, because I asked this Michelle. I try to answer the question, what kept you going? I know you're saying, well, you did kind of explain it. You basically said that you had to make it work because you didn't want to work.
A lot of different factors. I mean, number one, what was I going to do? Two, I was in it so deep that I felt like that we were on the cusp of like really having a tipping point, and I could see the trajectory that if we just could keep the doors open, our royalties for the next 10 years, would be significant. And so, it was part of being able to project cash flow and have some hope. Viktor Frankl, when he wrote the book about the people in the Nazi war camps, the people who lived were the ones that had something to look forward to. They had hope, and so I teach my kids that. I'm like, you always have to have something to look forward to. You always got to have something to read. I'm dealing with that. My mom's 92, and part of my family wants to put her in a facility, and I'm fighting for her to come to our house. And I keep telling her, man, you got to have something to live for. We're going to have John Carlo's first communion next May.
Excellent.
92. Let's get there.
That's right. Excellent.
We all got to have hope. And I had a lot of great people like you and my franchise owners who were encouraging us. And by the grace of God, I didn't mess it up yet.
No, one thing about you, I will say, I tell people this all the time. If you know Scott Talley and Moose Rosenfeld, you know everybody else in Houston. Because the two, you know everybody.
Yeah, I told Moose he's going to run for mayor someday. I'm going to be his right-hand man, because that guy really does know everybody, And I love the line somebody said about Moose, it's easier to get rid of the common cold than it is Moose. If he's on to you, he's going to keep calling you.